Yo, what is up, everybody? We're playing Capyblappies today, or, well, babybib mostly, a little bit of Barabog, and just a really fun deck. So, when I talked about babybib originally in my reveals video, I said that the only way babybib is good is if you're abusing it. And specifically abusing its first effect. Whenever you cast an Invoke Rune with Earth, you burn your opponent for 1. So that's what we were trying to abuse with this deck. It's very similar to Humbust Mill in a way, where Humbust is trying to take advantage of playing lots of runes. babybib is doing the same thing, except it's limited to Invoke Runes that are cast with Earth for the burn only, and only when we cast them. So it's got way more restrictions over Humbust. However, I do think I made it work, so let's jump into the deck. So, off the rip, it's babybib. It's a 1/1 for 1. Whenever you cast an Invoke Rune with Earth, your opponent must expend 1. Effect can only be activated up to 4 times in a turn, so every babybib possibly means we're burning our opponent for 4. When you cast Mudslide, you can special send babybib from Barabog to your hand or deck. That text isn't always relevant, but the second ability sometimes comes up, which we'll get into as to why we have one of Barabog. So Barabog is a 3/7 for 1 Earth 1 order. When an opponent casts a card without Earth or Water, they must expend 1. So that means, potentially, if we go babybib, burn our opponent for 3, use the 4th card to cast Mudslide, we get a Barabog out, meaning that with that Barabog, now we just burn our opponent for 4, and we pass turn with a giant defensive wall that will burn our opponent continuously as long as they're not playing Earth or Water, which, at least now that all 8 elements in the game, the odds that you run into Earth Water is slightly mitigated, because now there's 8 elements instead of 5 when Barabog first came out. However, Water and Earth are still pretty represented in the meta, so it's pretty common to run into them. We cut Barabog out of the deck if we're doing that. However, it is pretty powerful to be able to cast Mudslide as our 4th card in the turn. With the babybib in play, go to Barabog, and just tell our opponent, okay, cool, all your cards are taxed for 1 until you remove Barabog. Well, let's talk about Mudslide real quick. It's a Invoke Rune for 1 Earth, 1 Water. An opponent must disenchant 1 from each of the runes, and then you may enchant Earth or Water to your field. The enchant effect of Mudslide is pretty irrelevant. The disenchant is sometimes relevant. So the disenchant effect will cause our opponent to disenchant from their divine runes, which could destroy a divine rune, their artifacts, which could destroy artifacts, and their stadiums, which could destroy the stadiums. So Mudslide is relevant tech against those, which is why I'm running 1. You could run 2 in the starting deck and then maybe put a 3rd in your side. I like to have 1 in main deck and 2 inside, because going into Barabog isn't always relevant in game 1, especially if opponent's Earth or Water, but having the Mudslide option is relevant, and we do have a pretty deep draw engine with Drataya. So Drataya is a 2/4. Whenever you cast Ambrosia, draw 2 cards. Fairly straightforward. What's Ambrosia? Well, we're playing both Ambrosias because we're drawing cards to burn our opponent. Again, Ambrosia here, it casts with Earth, so that will burn our opponent with babybib. Hey, this Ambrosia here, we can cast normal Ambrosia with Earth to also burn our opponent. So if we happen to get a board state with both babybib and Drataya in play, and start cycling through our Ambrosias to burn our opponent and draw cards and heal back what we're burning, we can make a pretty powerful combo that way. We have a 1 of Rummagem to find our Drataya or babybib, since they're pretty key to the deck strategy. This deck is pretty expensive, so we're running Verdalith, because sometimes you might just mulligan into like a Verdalith and Nog, and play Nog, then Verdalith right after to recover back up. It's pretty versatile that way. The deck is mostly pretty expensive, so we're running Verdalith for recovery and a little bit of stall engine with that 7 defense. 2 rabbits, this could be 3 rabbits. I'm playing 2 because this deck is all about drawing. We're pretty consistent in finding pieces already. We don't necessarily need rabbit, but it is still pretty good to play rabbit, and it feels pretty good to play rabbit, find Ambrosia or Cornucopia with a Drataya also in play and do stuff that way, so hey, rabbit's not bad. We have 3 Earthquake as our premier removal for this deck, and again, Earthquake will trigger babybib. So potentially in a turn we go babybib, Earthquake your Elestral, burn you for 1 off the Earthquake with babybib, and then punch you for damage with babybib, making up that damage deficit a little bit, because most of our 2-cost runes will burn our opponent for 1. We have to find a way to basically not go 2 spirits for 1 spirit, and that's going to be attacking with our little guy, so Earthquake will open up that door a little bit to allow us to start punching our opponent. We have 1 Golden Fleece. This is generally going to go on Drataya early or a Barabog early. If our opponent's not playing Water Earth, we play a Barabog with a Golden Fleece on it. It's going to stick on board for a while and keep taxing them, and it really hurts. So yeah, Barabog and Golden Fleece are a pretty solid combo together. We only run 1 Golden Fleece because it's not always relevant, and we again have a massive draw engine, so finding it's not too difficult. We have 3 drops of Lethe in deck because we're drawing a tons of cards. This allows us to keep cycling our cards back into our deck for stuff that we need or don't need, to essentially just keep drawing and keep the burn going. Again, we play this with babybib in play. We burn our opponent for 1, cycle a bunch of cards we don't need back into our deck, draw some more cards, go from there. 1 Golden Apple Discord. This is generally going to be a side deck item, but I want to try the main deck because I mostly played Best of 1 today with this deck. Golden Apple Discord is a 1-cost Invoke rune, which is relevant for Babybib because, again, most of our runes cost 2, meaning that Babybib is mostly causing us to go 2 for 1 on spirits a lot. So Golden Apple Discord is a 1 for 1 on spirit. It also discards a random card for your hand, so if they're playing a combo deck, we might be able to rip a combo piece out. Or if they're playing a deck that's foretells a lot, maybe we can mess with their foretells and mill 2 cards that they expected to find the next following turn. It's a little bit of a tech piece. I think you just side it out and only play it for foretell matchups, perhaps. Survey's still on that one. I just wanted to try it, so it's a 1 of in the deck. 3 Nogs because we play Nog with Earth. With Babybib in play, we burn our opponent for 1, draw 2. Hey, not bad if it's also burning our opponent for 1. 2 Resting Your Laurels. This could be 3, however, there's a lot of times where we have tons of spirits on board with Babybib or Drataya with the Golden Fleece in play, and it's just clunky that way. But it is a pretty strong removal card, and again, hey, we cast it with Earth, it'll burn our opponent for 1. 2 Rise from the Ashes, cast it with Earth, burn our opponent for 1. Hey! It's almost like that's what the deck is trying to do, so we're filled up with Invoke runes. Rise from the Ashes is also pretty good, because if we can get 2 Babybibs in play and start doing our stuff, then our opponent's in some serious trouble, because all of a sudden, if we have 2 Babybibs in play, hey, this Ambrosia Cornucopia is now draw a card, burn our opponent for 2. This Ambrosia is heal 3, burn our opponent for 2. This Drops Elite is recycle our hand, burn our opponent for 2. Draw 2, burn our opponent for 2. Once we get 2 Babybibs in play, it's like game over. It's really hard to come back from that unless you have exactly like double Gorgons, but that still costs you 4 spirits. So hey, that's still burn in the end. So Rise from the Ashes has a lot of unique kind of niceties in this deck. I like to play it. So we're running 2. We don't really need 3, but you might be able to squeeze the 3rd one in here. 2 is fine. 3 Gorgons, because Gorgon's Gaze stop our opponents from either attacking our Babybib so we can get more in play, or progressively get more burns into play. Generally, if we play like Drataya, protected with Gorgon's Gaze from an attack, and then go off with the Babybib the next turn, stuff like that. So Gorgon's Gaze is pretty powerful here. And Shield of Achilles, because PTA is not good enough to protect our 1 defense, 1 attack Babybib. So Shield will bounce things attacking it, where PTA will probably still let things run over Babybib. Pretty relevant, so we have to run 3 Shield. And as you can tell, this deck is all Invoke runes and a few Elestrals and a few key important counter runes, because we're trying to win the game with Babybib's burn effect over and over and over again. Our Spirit deck is 14 Earth because this deck eats through Earth like no one's business. 2 Water Spirits for the Barabog Mudslide combo. 2 Thunder Spirits for our Rabbit, so we can potentially be a Rabbit, re-enchant Rabbit. And 2 Solar Spirits for a Golden Fleece. And that is the deck. I will see you guys after the wrap-up. I have 5 games free to play, 1 best of 3 and 2 solo best of 1s. I'll see you guys in the wrap-up. Alright, so for game number 1, we're playing against a Rock and a Hard Place deck. So our opponent's going to start by playing Eddie in setting 3. Nothing too crazy there, but it does tell me that, hey, I'm playing against a water deck. My Barabog's probably offline. I will start with a Babybib, to which my opponent immediately goes for Dense Fog to prevent me from starting to burn for damage. Not the end of the world. I'll just go for a Nog to pick up some more pieces, set 2, and pass back to my opponent. They're going to start off with a Rock and a Hard Place on their turn. Picking the room behind my Babybib, I'm going to let it go. It's a shield. I do have another shield face down here, so with this Kerbis into play, I had to hedge my bets that they didn't have like a Poseidon to just blow me out here, which they didn't. But they do have a Spectaris, so they're going to use the Spectaris attack into Babybib, and then they're going to try to hit me directly with Kerbis, and I will shield the Kerbis back to hand, so that should make that Kerbis stuck in hand for at least a little bit. He could potentially come back and hard ascend it. I'll play a second Babybib and start the burning with the Nectar of the Gods, draw 2, follow up with the Leads for another, draw a bunch of cards, burn for another 1. And I'll send back with that Leaf a Babybib, so I'll draw 2. There's not too much I can do here except throw another Ambrosia, heal up some of the cards. Babybib does get expensive. I'll heal up 3, and basically just go for the Barabog here for a defensive body. There's not much this Barabog's going to do. Again, they're playing water, so they can prevent the burn. They're going to just hard ascend Kerbis, misenchant it over the Spectaris. I was hoping they would have a different play other than that, but they did just go for it to clear my Barabog. It's a fair play, but I have ways to out it, so I'm just going to go Drataya and start draw engineering my way through to hopefully just get the Earthquakes and rolls in my deck to get rid of it. Not the end of the world. It should be pretty consistent because this is basically draw 3, assuming I don't get Gorgons. So I do draw 3, I find the Earthquake, get rid of the Kerbis, and I believe I set 1 and pass here. Yes. So then my opponent's going to pick their turn back up. They have nothing, so they're going to expend a draw here, which is pretty good for me. That's going to put them back on the back foot. I'm going to have this Drataya in play, so I can potentially go into attack position next turn and just start swinging. I'll play Rummagem here to go search for a Babybib, I believe. Yep, I'll go find my last Babybib to set up for more burn turns. I'll swing into attack position and punch my opponent for 2. They'll start their turn. I believe they have to do another expended draw here after setting 1. Yep, so I am in a great position now. Like, I have board control. They have a bunch of face downs, which is risky, but there's not much they're doing otherwise. I'm going to play Drops of Leaf. I'm going to actually shuffle back my Babybib because I do need some more cards to answer potentially what they draw. So I'm going to draw 3 here. Unfortunately, no really crazy burns. We're looking for Ambrosias or potential removal cards for when they start cracking back at me. I'm a little low in spirit, so I will misenchant this Drataya with the Thunder, and I will go for 3 damage, to which they respond with the Tsunami. So they're saving themselves a bunch of damage. That's fairly reasonable. And I will set some cards and pass back to them. They're going to play this Drakid, which doesn't actually get any attack buffs because everything on my board has 2 attack, but then he's going to play another Rock in the Hard Place, to which he's going to blow up, I believe, my Gorgons here, which I have another Gorgon set, which I'm going to cast here to prevent the Ascension, because I have no real way to stop a Draking right now with how low I'm on spirits, basically on 0 spirits here. And then he's going to get Ambrosia, so even though he was at 1 spirit, he's going to heal back up, which is probably going to be the end for me, because now he also has a Rock in the Hard Place again on his turn after he just cast the other Rock in the Hard Place. Pop my back row and just ascend into Draking. And Draking kills me here. So that is going to be the end of that game. So I did take an L. The end there was pretty tight. Going to game 2. This is against a Fire Ascension deck, or a little bit similar to my Fire Blazers OTK stuff, but a little bit more of a mid-range version of it, where he's going to play Necrofear, he's going to play Stadium, he's going to stoke the Forge to go search out an Exalt Flare, because that's what you do in Fire Ascension. You get Exalt Flare and you try to go into Blazers, or even Caperfume is an option, which my opponent does play here. I'm going to play Bearbig in attack position. I'm banking on the fact that I'm going to draw an Earthquake here because I need to get the extra chip damage in. We play Drops of Leaf to go cycle back an Ambrosia to draw a couple cards, burn them for 1, and get a Nectar of the Gods. Hopefully burn them here for another 1, draw some more cards. Still looking for Earthquake. I don't find it, so I just have to set 3 here and pass. He's going to set 1 on his turn. He's going to go into the Exalt Flare because, hey, Exalt Flare is in his hand, so he's probably got an Ascension, and he's got Hephaestus to trigger the Exalt Flare with. So he's going to Nexus with Exalt Flare from Hephaestus to the Necrof. I'm going to Gorgon's the Ascension. I'm going to let the Necrof get the spirits because I have a plan to shield it here, which I do. So that means I stop the Ascension and I put Necrof back in his hand. I'm going to play another Bearbig in attack position. I'm still banking on finding an Earthquake, but we're going to play an Ambrosia Cornucopia here, which is going to burn him for 2. That's a lot of damage. The Cornucopia cycles for 2 damage. We're going to play Cornucopia again. 2 more damage, another draw card, and I still don't find any removal cards, so we're just going to have to set a bunch and pass our opponent again. We're going to put 1 Babybib in defense because obviously Babybib should go in defense if I'm not hitting over anything. He's going to replay the Necrof. He's going to go for the Exalt Flare effect again here. And he's going to go, again, Nexus to Necrof. To which he then goes and ascends a Caperfume over the Exalt Flare. Misenchanted. He doesn't have enough fire left in his deck anymore. I'm going to Gorgon's the attack off the Necrof here, and then when he attacks with the Caperfume, I will bounce that Caperfume back to hand, leaving with just Necrof. So now all I gotta do, he's on 1 spirit, is just find an Evoke Room, which I do. I play Drops of Leaf. We're gonna just go through the motions, go cycle for 1 draw, burn, and our opponent gets hit by Babybib for 2, ending the game. He did have an Eruption in hand. That might have changed it if you paid attention to it, but it's no big deal. Going into a best of 3 now. This best of 3 is against a Farrageist Solar Focus deck. It's a pretty Healy recovery stall deck against Babybib, which is a burn stall. I started with the Rabbit. He's going to start with setting a few cards and then playing Apollo. Apollo's going to search, or rather foretell, a few cards off top of his deck. He's going to be revealing a Lumaru, a Gorgon's Gaze, and a Farrageist here. He's going to add that Lumaru to his hand and put the rest on top of his deck. He's going to play a Spectre. Spectres can't get over this Rabbit. I'm just going to re-enchant the Rabbit. We're going to go for more cards. He's going to start his turn off after that with another Foretell. There's Farrageist again. Oh, an Apollo and an Ambrosia. He's going to add, obviously, Farrageist to his hand, put Apollo and Ambrosia back on top of his deck, and set 1. Play a Drataya here to just get some healing going. And he knows he's got another Apollo coming, so he's just going to get rid of the extra spirit off the Drataya and get set up, hopefully, for next turn to play Farrageist with. I'm going to start my turn here with a Babybib to just start burning. He's going to immediately PTA it. Not a big deal. I'm going to get some value out of it here anyway. We're going to drop Leith, burn him for 1, cycle back some cards. We're going to pay 1 off the rabbit just to save up on some spirits. Drop your cards. Then we're going to drop an Earthquake on the Spectator so that he won't be able to ascend that into a Fairgeist next turn. Babybibs burns him for 1, and then he's going to finish off with the PTA, pass back to him. And he's going to play that Ambrosia that was on top of his deck, which means the Apollo is probably left on top, but he has another Apollo in hand, so he's going to use Apollo anyway. Or that was a different Ambrosia. I really don't know until here. Up, so yeah, the Apollo he left on top. He's also finding another First Light and a Poison Tipped Arrow, so he can't add anything back to hand. He's going to just shuffle his back on top of his deck in any order he wants. He's going to go for an Nexus off the Drataya to heal another 2 cards. And I'm in a weird spot where he's going to keep trying to heal. I'm going to Gorgons to heal because I want to keep him low to try to keep comboing off. He plays another Spectaris. He still can't get over my Ash Drive at wall, and he'll pass back to me momentarily. I'm going to start my turn here with a Rise from the Ashes to go get Babybib. We're going to try to just start burning, comboing off here. And he's going to Gorgon's Gaze the Babybib immediately, so I can't really risk too much going off here, but I do need to find some options of cards. We're going to go normal cast Drataya and just start fruit engineering this turn. I mean, it would have been nice to be able to burn here as well, but unfortunately we're just going to heal and draw. Not the end of the world. Healing and draw is still pretty good. We're going to follow it up with the Cornucopia, heal 1 off the Cornucopia, just shortcut it, and then we're going to draw some more cards. We find an Earthquake, so now we're going to get rid of that Drataya that has 2 spirits on it. Again, we're just trying to prevent the Faramel Ascensions. And he's going to go First Light off his Apollo. He's going to go search for... I wasn't really sure here, but it's probably going to be a Drataya because he knows I'm a burn deck, so the more healing he can get, the better he's going to be. He's going to pick up a Lumaru, play the Lumaru rather from his hand earlier, and he's going to run over both my Drataya and my Babybib and mill me for 3 cards. The 3 cards aren't super consequential. I mean, Cornucopia is not the end of the world. Losing a shield and Barabog, not the end of the world. We're going to replay a Babybib here for 1. And try to combo off here, and we're going to play this Golden Apple. Now, we don't have a ton of Earth left, so I used the Rabbit Spirit, specifically pitching a Verdolith to rise it after, and we played the Apple just to hopefully rip some relevant cards out of his hand. But really, we're just playing this to net 1 more Spirit to our Spirit deck and get more Earth in our Spirit deck to start playing Babybib combos and just praying that these draws get us more burn to hopefully get us there. Additionally, those 2 spirits on the Verdolith we can use to recast off. We played Ambrosia to get another burn. We played an Earthquake to get rid of the Spectaris here, I believe. Get him another burn, and then we're going to follow it up finally with the last spirits on the Verdolith to cast a Drops Elite to cycle for 1 card and burn for 1 more. Set a face down and pray that somehow our 2 spirits and Babybib get us there. He sets 1, goes for the attack. We're going to shield here, I believe. No, I let it go. And then I'm going to mill 3 here. And it's a Drataya, another Verdolith, and a shield. I would have liked that Verdolith, but I was going to get to it if he didn't mill me anyway. We draw for turn into a pretty bad position. I just have to play Drataya to soak a damage and hope that he can't get over Drataya with 2 cards, but he does have a Drataya in his hand, so he's just going to basically Lumaru, and we're going on to game 2 because he punches me to 0. Alright, game 2, so I'm going first again. And we know generally what he's trying to do now, so we do have another Barabog in our deck, and we do have an additional Golden Fleece in the deck now just to try to combat his Fairgeist deck without a ton of Earth and Water in it to get the extra burn. And we're going to immediately go into a Barabog here through a Nectar of the Gods into Golden Fleece and Barabog and Mudslide. There's a lot going on there, but we specialed the Barabog off of Mudslide, put a Golden Fleece on it, and now tell our opponents, cool, everything you're doing is taxed. He does have some water in his deck for tsunamis, so not the end of the world, but this Apollo is going to cost him 1 more spirit. He's going to foretell with it, find a Fairgeist, going to find a Spectaris, and he's going to find an Apollo, so that Fairgeist is going to his hand. He's going to set a couple cards, I believe play a Calf Mill here, yep, and he's going to actually follow up my play with Guardian of the Fleece with his own Guardian of the Fleece. So he's just basically walling up as much as I'm walling up. I'm going to start my turn with the Nectar of the Gods, draw some cards, Nectar of the Gods, draw some cards. Play a Babybib that I unfortunately got after the Nectar of Gods, which is unfortunate, but I have it now. He's going to PTA, which is going to cost him 1 because he plays it with the water. I'm going to Golden Apple here because I know he has Fairgeist and I don't want him doing some shenanigans to get it out. So we're going to just go for the 50-50 to rip Fairgeist out of his hand so we can't get to it because the Fairgeist would be pretty devastating. And we do get it. We rip it with the Apple, so that's pretty relevant. He's going to start his turn off with an Apollo Foretell. He's going to find Lumaru, Apollo, and Gorgon's Gaze. He's going to go grab, obviously, Lumaru, and he's going to play it with the Water Enchant so he doesn't burn here. He's still trying to find a way to get over this Barabog. Even Fairgeist wouldn't get over to it with an attack, so he's got to find 2 removal cards. I got my turn. I just set 1 and pass. He's going to play his Apollo effect again. Apollo, Drataya, Spectaris. He's going to obviously grab that Drataya. And we're in a spot where he's going to keep healing every turn. He doesn't play any card there, so I'm going to follow my turn with a Drataya and a Ambrosia Cornucopia to draw a bunch of cards, heal a little bit. Play an Ambrosia, draw a bunch of cards. Or rather, I didn't heal off the Cornucopia. And then we're going to follow up with a Rise from the Ashes. Again, this is just another situation where it's like, man, I wish I had the Babybib in play first to get the burnout, but we play Babybib here. We start continuing off with our Fruit Engine, play another Ambrosia, draw a couple cards, burn for 1. He's going to Gorgon to Drataya. Unfortunate, I still get the recovery. Then I go drop some Fleece for the Babybib. Going to burn for 1 with the Babybib here, hopefully, and then we're sending back a Rumajam and a Verdolith, and then he's going to Gorgon to the Babybib to not get burnt, which is just, unfortunately, yeah, Gorgon's Gaze is a lot. I have to play this Ambrosia Cornucopia to recover a bunch of spirits now because there's nothing else I can really do, so I stack the Babybib to do that. He plays his Drataya. He's going to Nexus and heal some, and then I'm going to play Shield when he goes for the attack to protect my Drataya because I have another Cornucopia in hand. Unfortunately, I can't use Drataya's Trigger here without losing Babybib, so we Cornucopia, drew a card, recovered a bunch, Earthquaked his board off, and then he's going to play his Lumaru again, and he can't get over anything, so we burn for 1 to do that. And then I'm going to start up my turn with an Earthquake on this Lumaru and switch my Bearbog to attack position to finish the game off and put it at 0. And game 3, he's going first here. He starts off with an Apollo set 2. Apollo is going to find him a Faramel, a Plucky, and an Apollo. He's going to actually add the Faramel to his hand and play Calfmel for turn. So I got to be cognizant of that, but this deck doesn't attack, so I don't really care too much about Faramel. It is still annoying. I'm going to play an Ash Rabbit here. He's going to immediately Gorgons it, which, not the end of the world. I mean, I would like to dig through my deck, because what the deck is designed to. Set 1, he's going to play Pucky and search Apollo. So he drew that Pucky off the top from the Foretell, because again, he added Faramel. He's going to grab another Apollo, and he's going to do the Foretelling again, and it's your Tora, Divine Blessing, and Tsunami. The Divine Blessing is super relevant because I'm an Invoke-based deck. He can negate all my Invoke runes, which is going to be really frustrating later on. I play Rumajam to search Drataya, and I'm just preparing for the worst because he's got a full back row in a moment. And he's going to go Apollo again, his back row. So I don't see the Divine Blessing here, so I knew he drew it, so he set it. And I saw a PTA and Tsunami there, so the PTA is going to be relevant. He's going to play the Drataya here. He's going to do the Nexus shenanigans again, heal a bunch. And I hard to send in a Bearbog on my turn, which is going to be pretty relevant here. Thankfully, he doesn't have that PTA yet, so this Bearbog is going to stick, and I get the Guardian Fleece on it. So even if he did have PTA, Guardian Fleece would have protected from the destruction, giving me another wall. He's going to set 1, play an Apollo again. He has to pay the Bearbog task for it. And with that tax, he's then going to go Apollo to effect, Foretell another 3, and the Gorgons that he left on top with a Tsunami that he left on top, and hey, a Plucky. Obviously, he adds Plucky to hand. He's going to do some nexusing from the Plucky with Drataya to heal for 2, and then a Hard Ascend Plucky into Faramel. I'm going to start my turn with the Drataya. We're going to look to combo off here, but we know he's got a bunch of cards that can stop my combo, so we're trying to bait out all the Divine Blessings and Gorgons that he might have. He actually lets this go. I draw 3 here. I don't recover anything. And then on his turn, he starts, right? I don't have anything going on. He starts with Tsunami to clear his back row, probably setting that Gorgons that we saw a moment ago. He's going to play another Plucky and fail to find. He's gone through all of his Apollos already. He's going to use his Apollo and play effect to find a Golden Fleece, an Argo, and another Divine Blessing, none of which he can add to hand. He probably put the Divine Blessing back on top of his deck, but I'm not 100% sure there. He's going to do some more Nexusing, heal a bunch, and he's just healing while I have all these walls up. It's really frustrating. It's not really something I can do much about, though. And we're going to play a Drops of Leaf to cycle back an offline Royal, Verdolith that's offline, and draw, I believe, also Rise from the Ashes here, because it's like, I don't really have any targets, and draw 4 cards. Find a Babybib. We play Babybib in defense, and we're going to try to combo off here for some damage. We play Earthquake to get rid of the Faramel, because that thing's got a lot of spirits on it. It's big and bulky. He's going to obviously Divine Blessing it, so I don't get the Babybib burn here. I knew that was there, so I follow up with a second Earthquake from my hand to get rid of it and burn him for 1 with Babybib. Then I'm going to start going for Fruit Engine shenanigans. We're going to go Ambrosia to draw 2, Nectar of Gods to draw 2, and every single time we're casting these Invoke runes, my opponent's burning for 1. I'm drawing lots of cards here. We're going to set 1 and pass back to him. He's going to draw a card, set a card, and he knows he's got to start getting some more healing up as well. He's going to expend a draw, because there's not much he can do. He's going to set another card. I'm going to play a Rabbit Reenchant Then I'm going to use the Rabbit Reenchanted Spirit to then play Nectar of the Gods with 1 Taratless to draw a couple cards, burn my opponent for 1. He's going to then expend a draw on his turn again because I'm pretty much out of gas. He's going to just go for healing, just sacrifice for the Nexus to heal with Drataya. I have no more Thunder Spirit, so I have to hard ascend this Rabbit from Rabbit. And he's going to just go ahead and start Gorgonzing my board, PTAing my board. He's spending a lot for this Rabbit. And I'm just going to use these Rabbit Spirits in a second to just cast Nectar of the Gods, setting up for my Babybib again. So this will burn my opponent with Babybib. I'll draw a couple cards. Hopefully continue on, and he's going to Divine Blessing it. So he just spent a ton of spirits, because every card there just costs extra spirits with that Barabog cast. He's at like 2 or 3 spirits down. He has to use Ambrosia off board to play Ambrosia, burn for 1 off the Ambrosia, play a Calfmel. I find another Babybib, and this is basically the Death Senses, where we're going to go use it, sacrifice a Barabog to cast this Mudslide, burn our opponent out for 2, and end the game there. Alright, so this deck is not good. It's so bad. Okay, it's not terrible. It's not so bad, but it's pretty bad. So, yeah. Okay, what's good about the deck first? The good parts about the deck. Hey, we're doing burn damage without attacking our opponent, and we're doing consistent burn damage. Pretty solid. We have a massive, impactful draw engine that allows us to draw a ton of cards, as well as some relevant healing in the deck. That is fine. Finding our one-ofs is actually pretty easy a lot of the times, because we can either find like Barabog and ascend over it, or Mudslide to get to Barabog. Golden Fleece just pops up when it needs to sometimes, and the deck, fine. The deck functions, it's fine. The cons. Oh boy, are there a lot of cons. Okay, first off, big cons. The biggest con of the deck is that the majority of invoked runes cost 2 spirits. Our Babybib will burn for 1, so that for every 2 spirits we're playing our Invoke Rune for, we are burning 1, thus meaning we are disadvantaged kind of spirit-wise, where for every 2 we're spending, we're burning for 1 damage, and we're almost never able to attack directly to our opponent. However, attacking directly at our opponent is pretty important to making sure that we run enough spirits to beat our opponent. It is pretty important with Babybib to be able to Earthquake stuff and attacking with our little guys consistently to do the extra damage to win the game. That's pretty difficult. Additionally, other bad parts about this deck. Barabog. Barabog is great against anything that's not earth and water. Legitimately going Babybib, burn some cards, ascending into a Barabog, and then sitting on defensive protection is really good. Like, doing that against anything that's not earth and water is really good. However, earth and water are 2 of the most represented elements in the game right now. I feel we don't have medalists yet, but Earth and water are super consistent, whether it's Chronodile, Water Nexus, locking on to some extent, Earth Beatdown, Earth Nexus. Like, there's a lot of Earth floating around that makes Barabog kind of useless, and that is really detrimental to the strategy of just Babybib a bunch, Barabog in defense, stall, burn our opponent out slowly over time. Other cons. The deck is combo focused, that if we brick on a combo or our opponent wants to either Dense Fog, Gorgon's Gaze, maybe Artemis, and just stop our combos from there. Additionally, going into game 2, dropping a Poison Nectar on us will stop us super dead in the tracks, as well as burn us ourselves for a bunch of damage. Divine Blessing is really good against the deck. There's so many options that stop this deck dead in the water going into games 2 and 3 that it's basically just over. So yeah, the cons is the deck is kind of inconsistent to an extent. Like, it's got consistency pieces for sure, but you need the pieces in the right order to do well. And some of the other pieces of the deck are pretty countered against a lot of relevant cards in the meta, as well as being suppressed will stop everything this deck is trying to do. Additionally, pretty bad. So yeah, the deck's not that great. However, there is some hope. You could run this blind to a game 1, and you could run a pretty effective side deck of playing like a control fruit engine on the side of this, where you kind of side out Barabogs, Mudslides, some of those drops of Leaf, and put in some other control options in Earth, as well as something like Latagon, and play just a fruit deck into game 2 and 3, giving you a little bit more of a proper consistent deck where you have 3 PTAs in your side deck, some Tsunamis, 2 Latagons, a couple other cards, and you just side out all the jank and put in like an actual fruit control list, and hopefully win games 2 or 3 with that list and try to switch it up on your opponent. But otherwise, this deck is pretty bad, but really, really fun to play. It is so much fun to go, draw 2, burn you for 1. Draw 2, burn you for 1. I'll heal some, burn you for 1. Draw 2 more, heal, burn you for 1. And set back row, pass, protect my Babybib, cool, play another Babybib. I'll play Ambrosia, burn you for 2. Like, that's play-wise really fun to just be able to combo off. Your opponent's going to be miserable going, yep, another one, yep, another one. Or they go, yeah, Gorgon's pass. Like, your turn's done. Go, I'll go take my turn. Cool. Your Babybib's dead. So it's a really fun, interesting deck. Maybe there's some ways to tweak it to make it a little bit more consistent or better in general. But I wouldn't put my money on this deck. It's fun. Mess around with it. It's probably the best way to play Barabog. If you want to play Barabog, you're gonna have to play Babybib because Barabog just loses to 25% of decks, if not more. So yep, that's the list. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.